Hello, good evening, and welcome to the latest edition of Daily Record Hotline Live, and it's an international special. As you can see on the screen, I am joined by Andy Newport and Craig Swan, who are over at Hampden getting ready as the clock ticks down towards the latest Nations League, well, probably hard luck story, but who knows, against Portugal. Boys, good evening.
How are you, Keith? All right? All right.
Actually, no, I'll be honest with you, I'm feeling rotten. You know how it's almost impossible to get in a plane these days without picking something up? I usually manage to get lucky, but something come back with me from Zagreb and it's killing me, whatever it is.
Oh,
well. Not in a good way.
Moving on.
I'm in self-isolation here at Record Towers. Guys, what are we to hope for tonight? What are we to expect?
I think if we've spoken about this long and loud since this campaign started. When the fixtures came out for the Nations League and we're in the top section, we're in the top echelon, what was the realistic expectation for points? When you put a circle around this particular fixture in isolation, what did people expect to get? So on that basis, what we're looking for tonight, you're looking for a performance again, the same as we've seen in the last two and a half games. And yeah, of course, we're hoping that we can nick something out of the game. We'd love to win, you'd love to nick a draw, but just keep the progression going, keep moving in the right direction. Realistically, should we be expecting to win this game tonight? No. Yes, did we beat Spain here? But realistically, when this fixture was first mooted, it looked like a game that we were unlikely to get something from. And the way the Portuguese have started the section, 3 wins out of 3, there's no reason to think otherwise. So you go in with hope rather than optimism.
Andy, I've already gone on record as saying the performances in the first 3 matches in this Nations League have been so vastly improved from what they served up at the Euros that I'm actually not that bothered now. I'm not bothered even if we get to the end of this group, we've not got a point, let alone a win. I'm okay with it because I see where Steve Clarke is going. That wouldn't necessarily have been the way that I was feeling ahead of it, because if we played the way we'd performed at the Euros and we took that same standard into these games, I think I'd be crying for a change by now. I've changed. He's won me over with the tweaks that he's made and the mental adjustments that he's made. Are you in the same boat, or am I being a happy clapper?
No, I definitely feel that progress has been made. You know, there is a bit of regret that we didn't take this same kind of approach into the games in Germany. But that's gone now. We need to look forward. If the SFA were of a mood to make a change, they should have done it after the tournament. They've decided to carry on for better or worse with Steve Clarke. So here we are, and I think I totally agree that the last few weeks performances have certainly offered room for encouragement, if not the results. But as I said the last couple of days when I've been on Hotline Live, that trajectory, that upward rise has to continue. If we take a step back, then the clamour, we've seen the clamour, we've seen the calls and the texts that have been coming into the hotline for the paper, the Hotline Live the last couple of days, that there is an element of the Tartan Army, and quite a sizable element, that I've seen enough and they want to change. So if Steve Clarke is to continue and to convince the people on the Hampden 6th floor that he has to continue, then that, there has to be more. There has to be further signs of improvement, further signs of encouragement. And I dare say at some point he's going to need a result, because I think you can only continue losing games for so long. I mean, we're already at the stage where it's 1-15. I mean, and amongst that, as much as we all know that there's been some really tough big names in there, there's also been games that we should have won. Thinking Finland here, we're 2 goals up, Northern Ireland at home. So there's been games within that run that we haven't, there are no excuses for. So, but the fact that, there's been encouragement lately, does offer some promising signs, but it has to continue, and sooner or later we do have to get ourselves back onto winning ways.
Yeah, let me just take care of a little bit of housework here, guys. Obviously, you were joined live on YouTube and a number of different platforms. If you're listening, if you want to get involved in the debate, then please feel free to join in. Send us your comments, questions to all our socials, X, YouTube, Facebook, etc., etc. We've got some comments that the guys were saying. Here's like a taster. Alan Flett, Clarke is a fraud. The only reason why he's the only Scotland boss since 1998 to qualify for major tournaments is because none of his predecessors had the Nations League to bail them out. Well, actually, Alan, that's not quite right, is it? Because we qualified straight off our own bat for the Euros without having the Nations League or any side door entry. But he kind of speaks to an unsatisfied section of the Scotland fans. Where do we put that percentage at, guys? Do we think it's the majority, minority? Where are we?
I don't think it's the majority, I have to be honest, Keith. I always find that it's the minority that's the loudest in this one. And we always say everyone's entitled to their opinion, and they are. But I think sometimes it can be a bit black and white when it comes to, we're painting the pictures of the statistics and they're there for all to see. But there's nuance in this. People have to understand that there's nuance in this. The teams that Scotland have played against, the performances that have been improving, we all know that the game... See, there's somebody who's keen. We all know that the games in the summer, particularly the last
Fraser Wilson
against sorry?
Is that Fraser Wilson just arrived?
Yeah. Listen, I was just saying, there's nuance in it. There's the performance decent in some of the games, certainly the last three. The teams that we've been playing are difficult. Listen, there's something that's worth delving deeper into as we go along. You look at the other teams that have qualified up into Group A in the Nations League. Israel, 4 games, no points, -9. Look at the teams that have come up from the C group into B. They're struggling as well. Everybody's struggling. This is not a Scotland thing. Everybody's in the same boat. Scotland have moved up into a situation which is tough for them. A lot of it's based on what happened in the summer. That for the people who are unhappy, I would suggest that cloud still hasn't cleared. And are seeing these Nations League games through the prism of that Euros squad. That's the way I would read it.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. Yeah, we've got some comments coming in live. Paul McEwen watching on YouTube just says Scotland with a whole bunch of emojis. Yes, I think you summed that up quite nicely, Paul. Here's hoping. We've got a comment from George McCafferty on Facebook. Why is it not on TV? We get every England game. George, where have you been for the last 2 weeks, mate? And Jim Kerr, come on, Portugal. Aye, see you later, Jim. Off you pop, son.
I can also say, Keith, if you want to see the game, get yourself down to Hampden and see the game. It's a similar thing that was going on with this carry on about people whining about Celtic against Aberdeen not being on the television on Saturday just to digress. There'll be some reward for season ticket holders who pay their money and fork out £700 every year and go to watch the games. There's plenty of ways to see this game tonight. One of them's trundle yourself down to Hampden and come and buy a ticket and come and see it.
Unfortunately, Swanee, that's bad advice that you're giving out because it's a sellout. So if somebody turns up at Hampden just now looking to buy a ticket on your advice, it's a way only.
You know what I mean. If you're that desperate to see the game, you would have your ticket.
Listen, I couldn't agree more. Now, in terms of team selection issues for Steve Clarke tonight, guys, let's just have a look at some old comments. By the way, here's one here, just so that it's balanced. Sean Mahone from Cape S. I think it's time a lot of my fellow Scotland fans got off Clarke's back because he got us to the last 2 Euros and has certainly earned the right to lead us into the World Cup. Good. I like that. I like your positivity, Sean. Boys, we're saying team selection-wise, what do you guys expect? I expect minimal changes to the starting lineup in Zagreb from Saturday night.
I wouldn't disagree with that. I think you'll see certainly probably the same back four, same goalkeeper, obviously. I think Billy Gilmore has established himself as the fulcrum of this team, and we'll have to start again. The only changes I can perhaps envision is, maybe wide on the right with Ben Doak. I mean, we've all been excited about what the young Liverpool kid can offer this national team, but obviously Steve Clarke is cautious about letting the hype, the expectation run away with itself. So perhaps there's maybe a question mark over whether he goes back in again or he's kept for later stages and come off the bench. And then obviously up front, I thought Lyndon Dykes was terrific at the weekend, just winning balls that he really at times had no right to win. But I think we need to have more of a goal threat tonight, and perhaps maybe Shea Adams, in a sense, with the form he's in from his spell in Italy, maybe he's the option for up front.
Here's one for you boys. Graeme McLean from Bathgate. I'm sick of hearing folks say we need to protect Ben Doak. Nonsense. We're the only country in the world obsessed with telling our best young players that they're not ready to play. He's got a point, hasn't he?
I don't disagree with that, Keith. I have to
I
say
don't disagree with it.
something that we're guilty of. I think we've been guilty of in Scotland for a while. We're still calling 21 and 22-year-olds kids. When you're looking at like, I know everybody points to Lamine Yamal and all of that stuff, but there's other examples around Europe of 17, 18-year-olds. If you're good enough, you play. The only thing I would say in the defence of Steve Clarke in this one is I'm not even so sure it's as much about age. It's more about game time. Certainly, he hasn't played a lot. He didn't play a lot before.
He's not played 90 minutes in his career yet.
He's not at the games in his legs since he's gone to Middlesbrough yet. Obviously, we 1 or 2. He's getting up there now. Before this camp, he played a couple of times, so he's getting up to speed. I think it's more that rather than age. I could be wrong, but I just think it's minutes.
I still think there's a bit of a cotton wool approach there, Swanee. He's 18.
Yeah, I think probably.
He's 18. Do you know what I mean? He should be able to play 90 minutes 7 nights a week. That's, honestly, asking an 18-year-old to play 2 games Saturday to Tuesday, I don't think that's asking too much. Nowhere near it. I bet you Ben Doak doesn't think it's asking too much. He'll be desperate to get out on that pitch again tonight.
No, he can drive, he can vote, he can buy drinks, he can play 2 games.
You mentioned when we spoke at the weekend, Keith, about Ollie Burke and the sort of comparisons, but I mean, there's a big difference there. Is that Ollie Burke, for better or worse, he was overhyped. I don't think this kid's overhyped. I think he's got the full package, but I think the thing we need to acknowledge is that he's still got some polishing to do. His, I think you saw at times that at the weekend he gets himself into some great positions, and his final ball was just a wee bit rushed. In saying that, I thought the game he comes on here against Poland, he didn't put the actual cross in for the McTominay goal that got his level at 2 each, but he has a little cute pass to Anthony Ralston that opened up the space, and it showed a matureness for a kid at 18 that he didn't just want to thrash a ball into the box. He picks his head up and makes the right pass. But I felt at the weekend there was just up at times that he lacked that wee bit of the final bit of quality you're going to need to be really top class. So that's the exciting thing. We've got all that still to come. He's 18. We know that there's going to be more and more improvement to come. If this is his base level, then Christ, we've got a really good player in our hands. But again, a bit like the team, you have to keep going in the same direction. And we know there's going to be bumps in the road, but that's where a wee bit of patience and a wee bit of understanding is going to be required in the months ahead.
And that lack of a final ball might come from eagerness as well, Keith.
Yes.
Desperate to impress and desperate to show yourself. And you know what it's like. Boys trying to play the cat pass all the time when they first get into the team to show themselves, But I've got that confidence for everything that fair.
Here's a really interesting comment from one of our listeners, viewers, readers, whatever we call them. Angus Bishop, Edinburgh. Doak is a must start again tonight. The quicker he gets game time and experience at this level, the better for his development. Again, that's spot on. The more he plays, the more he gets to experience this, the more he gets to deal with the pressure, the more comfortable and confident he's going to feel every time he pulls on that shirt.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we've been saying, and that's what Steve Clarke has been saying these Nations League games are about. Getting prepared for the World Cup qualification in March. So these are the games to play and get that experience.
Swanee, I have to tell you, you're in trouble. We've got a comment from Mac John, who's watching in Canada by the sounds of it. The complaints about season ticket holders spending £700 a year is so cheap. £36 a game plus exclusive offers, etc. I live in Canada, and my family alone spend thousands on Celtic through subscriptions, etc. So there you go. Now, he couldn't make it down to Hampden, and he won't be able to make it to Celtic Park at the weekend either, I'm guessing, Swanee. Consider yourself chastised.
That's because Tano's made his appearance.
Right, well, listen, we'll rattle through some more comments here, and then I'll let you guys get on about your work before you're drowned out. Hold on 2 secs. We've got another couple on the team. Peter Malcolm from Dundee. Clarke should make one change to his starting lineup from Zagreb, swap Shea Adams in for Lyndon Dykes, and tell the rest of them to get back out there. That's pretty much, Andy, was that was your selection, wasn't it, the one change?
That would be the way I would go. I mean, I must say, I totally agree with the guys that say that Ben Doak should be playing. I totally agree with that. I'm just thinking that's perhaps not how Steve Clarke tends to operate, but for me, maybe Adams for Dykes. I would have no great complaints if we went with the same lineup, but I'm just thinking there's going to be changes made. The only one I would limit it to would be Adams for Dykes.
Okay. And here we have Brian Carswell, surprise, surprise, from Aberdeen. Surely Nicky Devlin has to get a game at right back. He's playing regularly for a team at the top of the league rather than warming its bench. Better option than Tony Ralston. What do you think, guys?
I would be honest, I probably haven't seen enough of Nicky Devlin this season to make a judgment on that, but Tony Ralston comes across to me as a bit of a regular whipping boy for everybody.
Yeah.
Not really to let people down. Listen, everybody knows Tony Ralston is not the first pick right back. Can I see an argument for giving Nicky Devlin an out and giving him some experience tonight? Maybe, but I just feel like Anthony Ralston's always the one that gets whipped in these situations, and he's done very well. Listen, he's made mistakes, the whole team's made mistakes. We all know what happened in the Poland game, the first game, when he gave the penalty away. But you know, there's a solidity about Tony Ralston. I don't think he's done an awful lot wrong to entitle him to be dropped.
And I think Steve Clarke mentioned at the press conference that really, you know, he has to strike this balance between throwing in, you know, the new guys, and there's obviously the bench is full of a lot of guys that have not played a lot of football at international level. So, you know, I don't expect to see too many, you know, guys that have got zero experience, because Steve Clarke was talking about just how difficult it is to make that step up, no matter what level of club football you're playing at. You're going to play international levels, another step up. So, you know, to throw in, you know, a guy, Nicky Devlin, the best role in the world, is a very good season, but, you know, has he ever come up against somebody like Bernardo, you know, Bruno Fernandes or Bernardo Silva or Cristiano Ronaldo? Unlikely. So to throw him in for his first ever cap, for the off against that calibre of player, is a big ask.
I also think a lot of the growth can come from in the training as well. This Nicky Devlin just training with the standard of player in the squad is going to bring him on before you have to put him straight into the team, you know. But listen, by all means, if there's 15-20 minutes available tonight to put him on near the end, if the situation arises, then by all means.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'd thank you for it. I mean, I'm sure Nicky Devlin is dying to get his first Scotland cap, but I think you're right. I think it might be a bit much to throw him in there and expect, you know, him to handle the occasion and handle the sort of quality players that will be coming at him. A final comment here from John MacArthur from Stirling says, "Come on, Scotland. The performances in the Nations League have been a big improvement on the Euros. A win tonight would make the whole country believe again." Again, we've got some right clever guys making contact with us, because he's spot on. A win tonight, and he's right. I think people will look and start to see beyond the results and look at the progress.
Well, we've talked about the lack of momentum that the team's had. If you're looking for something to give you a bounce, a springboard, and get you back up running, then obviously a win tonight would be exactly that. But again, it's the size, the skill that's in front of you. You know, like beating this Portugal team will be every bit as difficult as beating a Spain team here, or taking on, you know, like the teams, the top nations that have given us a doing, frankly, over the last year. You know, they're right up there with your Frances, your England, your Hollands, your Germany. So, you know, we've shown that, you know, against Spain, we managed to cope with that well, that challenge that night, because we were feeling great about ourselves. But when that level of sort of belief drops a wee bit, then you've seen what's happened. So, yeah, I suppose a good start. If we can go off to a good start, if we can grab an early goal, then who knows what can happen. But as you saw in Lisbon, this team have got plenty about them. You know, they've got a guy who scored more international goals than pretty much everybody else. He's scored more goals than anybody else, pretty much. So, you know, that's what they're coming packed with. Meanwhile, if we do start with Dykes, it's a guy who's not scored an international goal for over a year. So, you know, that's the scale, and it's what Swan was saying earlier on. By rights, we shouldn't be beating Portugal.
Yeah. We're
ranked, was it 52 in the world for a reason? We're up in the top 10, 15 for a reason. So, you know, listen, if we don't get a result tonight, it's no great disaster. But again, I think we just have to keep showing signs of improvement and signs of encouragement, and that should hopefully get the pressure off Steve Clarke a little bit.
And again, Keith, there's a little bit of nuance in that as well, in the sense of we all want to win the game, of course we do. If, for talking's sake, Portugal completely run this game, hit the bar 3 times, and Craig Gordon has a worldie, and we nick a goal from a set piece and win it 1-0. Is that the progression that we're kind of looking for? No, really.
Is that you know, that'd be a 1-0 win, but regression.
The way Scotland beat Spain here, for example, was really good. We went after them, we played well, we got in their faces, we created more chances than the goals we scored. that type of performance is put forward, then we really are flying again. You know, everybody will be delighted. But so again, I just think it comes down to how things are done. You know, Scotland could play really well and go toe to toe in Portugal tonight and lose 3-1.
Yeah,
still on the right road.
Yep, correct. Another comment here. I think that Joseph Agnew watching live on YouTube. I think Joseph might have got cracked into his pre-match preparations a bit early. Get the new players in. Old guard doing whining nothing, so nothing to lose. Good luck, Scotland. Well said. So pull yourself another one. Bad. It's obviously, you know, all attention, all eyes on Hampden just now, but there was a big event on the other side of the country earlier on today. Hearts' new manager, Neil Critchley. We're going to go and hear some of Neil Critchley. We're going to speak with Fraser Wilson, who was there for Record Sport. But can I ask you guys, before I let you go, for your reaction on that one? Hit, miss, strange, obvious, what?
Listen, obviously, they've crunched their numbers, they've looked at analytics. That's what Tony Bloom's been sort of brought in to do. This is the guy they decided with. Listen, there's not been a managerial pick that's ever been a guaranteed success. Every one of them comes with an element of risk. This one's no different. They've just went about the recruitment process a little differently. You know, time will tell. It's the same at every single appointment. You just have to let the guy get on with the job and hope that he comes up with he does the business. I do think it's I looked through the sort of responses from some of the supporters. Underwhelming seems to be the sort of main flavour of those, but I think that's harsh. You need to give the guy a chance. I mean, he had a sort of underwhelming second stint at Blackpool, didn't last long at QPR, but he's well thought of. Certain circles down there, he's Stephen Gerrard's picked to go as his number 2 at Villa when Michael Beale left. So there's guys down there that obviously have a high opinion of him, Tony Bloom included. So listen, all you can do is wish him well and see how he gets on.
There's an excitement Keith seems to be around Hearts about how this analytical approach may take things forward for him in terms of players. It sounds like the managerial appointment has come through that.
And just like that, the link to Hampden collapses. It was getting a little bit loud there, a little bit boisterous. So the guys have got their work to crack on with. As I was saying, big day for Hearts. Interesting day. I don't know if lukewarm would be the response. I think that a lot of Hearts fans are confused as to why they needed a supercomputer to come up with the name of a guy who wasn't good enough to cut it at Blackpool or at QPR, as the guys were saying. So, as I said, Fraser Wilson was over at Tynecastle earlier on today, and here's what Neil Critchley, the new Hearts manager, had to say.
The reality of any modern recruitment process is that you run concurrent discussions with agents on it, and that happens throughout the process. To get a full picture of expectations and fit, but Neil was the preferred candidate from an analytics perspective, and also when we spoke to him, it was very clear to us that he was the right person to work with us, to work with Graeme, to work with the analytics. And it would be strange at the start of a strategic partnership if we didn't go into it, fully and wholeheartedly. So that's where we got to with Neil.
Can you give us a timescale as to when Neil was offered the job?
Yeah, we spoke to Neil. We spoke to Neil at the back end of last week, and things happened, at the back end of last week and over the weekend.
Very honoured to be in this position. Obviously, I want to say thank you to Anne and Andrew and Graeme for giving me this opportunity. I know it's a huge responsibility at a fantastic football club. But I'm super excited to get started and get going.
It has been a tough start for Hearts this season. How big a challenge have you got ahead of you?
Yeah, it's a challenge, but there's plenty of points and plenty of games to play. We know where we're at. We know what we need to do in the immediate. That started this morning, ready for our game on Saturday. And I concentrate on the things that I've got responsibility for and what I can control.
When you look at the squad, how encouraged are you by what's there and what you've got to work with?
Yeah, from seeing them this morning, more encouraged than I was beforehand. Also watched all the games because I've had a little bit of time on my hands recently, so I've watched all the games. But it's always good to see the players firsthand, getting to know them, speaking to them, and then seeing them train. And I didn't detect. And this, sometimes when there's change, you can get that. But there was a good energy, a good vibe about the group this morning, and I'm really looking forward to working with them in the short term and the long term as well.
Yeah, and then after that, Fraser Wilson is hot-footing it across the Hampden Park, across the M8 car park, so good luck with that. But before he left from Tynecastle, I caught up with Fraser for his impression on how Neil Critchley handled that unveiling. Fraser,
Hello.
You're having some day. You're through in Edinburgh just now. I know you need to get back through to Glasgow across the M8. Good luck with that for Hampden.
Thank you.
But
I
talk
hope
us
we have
through.
contingencies in place.
Well, talk us through what you've been doing today. This the Neil Critchley appointment. From where I'm sitting, seems to have gone down like a bit of a lead balloon. How did he sound to you today?
Well, that's the problem, Keith, isn't it? I mean, I'm all for giving new managers a chance, but in the modern day, and especially with Neil Critchley here at Hearts, well, just that, he really needs to hit the ground running because
Was that him?
Scott Burns and I talked about last night. The reaction at very best has been lukewarm. The fans aren't having it, simply. I think it's because so much was made of this supercomputer that Andrew McKinley very openly said Hearts were using to find the next manager. A next manager they hope that given a year or two can take them close to the old firm using the analytics tool. So I don't know if the fans were hoping for a more to be wooed by a kind of a Jimmy Thelen type foreign appointment.
Of course,
something different.
That's the whole point. A guy that failed at QPR and sacked at Blackpool.
Yes.
That's not what it said on Tony Bloom's tin.
It didn't. And I mean, look, the proof will be in the pudding, but he needs to deliver a result straight away against St Mirren on Saturday here at Tynecastle, or the pressure will be on him unbearably straight away because the fans, as we say, just aren't having this. So it's a strange one. I mean, in his first spell as Blackpool manager, he led them to promotion, winning the playoff final against Lincoln City back in the Championship. And then he was headhunted by Steven Gerrard to go to Aston Villa as assistant manager. But that didn't last long because Gerrard was soon given his books there. So he kind of landed on his feet and took over from Michael Beale at QPR. And that's where the problems really started, Keith, wasn't it? Because 12 games he lasted, one victory, a matter of 3 or 4 months. And he was out, another P45 on the dole again. So he went back to Blackpool, but things just weren't the same. I mean, we've been hearing from Blackpool fans who say, be ready for a snorefest, Hearts fans. His tactics just didn't seem to work the second time round and they missed out on promotion back to Championship. So look, he says the usual, was trotted out the line that he's learned from his past experiences. He's a better manager for it, and he will. He's here to improve Hearts. Well, there is only one way for Hearts to go at the moment, and that's upwards. Otherwise, they'll be going down at the end of the season.
Yeah. Two things, Fraser. First of all, I don't know what comfort this offers anybody, but in his season when he won promotion up from League One, he pipped Derek Adams to the Manager of the Year award in that campaign.
I think Derek Adams' stock was slightly higher back then, but yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. The second thing, how did he sound today? Were you impressed by him? Did he sound like a guy that is believable? Does he sound like a guy that might bring the fans with him?
Look, we'll have different perceptions of a manager, right? He was very mildly spoken, a nice, polite English guy. Look, thoroughly polite. Instantly, first impressions is not kind of the guy that you can see taking a grasp of a dressing room of big characters. But look, this is his fourth job now, so who's to say he can't? But as I say, mild-mannered. The thing is, he's made his reputation, and Steven Gerrard bigged him up as an excellent coach, training ground coach, and he has got the title of head coach. Hearts need somebody to go in there and shake up this group of players, because they have good players. I don't think anyone doubts that.
Yeah.
But they need to shake up and get a reaction. Now, Andrew McKinley says one of the main things they're looking for from the analytics tool we keep hearing about was a manager who can improve players and make them better. And he says because he believes the current group of players are good enough to challenge for third place, if not better, in the Scottish Premiership in years to come. So that's what they're looking for when they put all this data into this analytics tool. It came up with Neil Critchley, so he claims, as the first choice. Interestingly, it also said they didn't negotiate with any other manager.
Okay.
Now, we believe, or we understanding that obviously the Scandinavian, the former Norway manager Per Mathias Hogmo was spoken to last week, but according to Andrew McKinley, chief executive, they did not negotiate with anyone else, and Neil Critchley was their number one choice. So look, he's here now. It's up to him to prove that he is as good as he says.
Wow. I mean, I just find it astonishing that the computer could have access to the data all around Europe, and the best they could come up with was this guy. You've got Derek McInnes, half an hour, a couple of hours down the road, a guy with, I mean, on what basis does a computer look at the data and decide that this guy is more suited for the job than Derek McInnes with a track record? It staggers me. I just hope this computer isn't talking out its analytics.
Keith, I think most of us have agreed in that. I mean, it's a 3-week saga, this Hearts hunt for Stephen Naismith's successor. I said right at the outset, I know you said it as well, Derek McInnes is proven in the Scottish Premiership. Every club he's been at is improved. He knows how to manage, and what I said earlier, he does have that gravitas, that strength to go in and shake up a dressing room when it's needed. Look, you've got to give Neil Critchley a chance, right? I'm not knocking the guy, but I don't understand why another big club of Hearts' stature, like Aberdeen did, don't give Derek McInnes a chance. I thought it was an open goal. And look, see if he doesn't want to work with a sporting director, perhaps you need to shake up your system and let Derek McInnes come in and manage a club. But look, it's not happened, so there's no point talking about it.
Correct. So last thought, I mean, to me, the whole point of appointing a manager is you try to minimise the risk attached to whatever the appointment is that you make. This seems as if it might be a high risk appointment, even if Hearts were sitting fairly comfortable mid-table just now. I think you multiply that risk factor by about a factor of 100, given that they're currently sitting with 2 points from 24 at the bottom of the league and staring at a relegation battle in the face. This is the thing that I find absolutely astonishing.
That's what I mean. He needs to hit the ground running, Keith. I mean, they're 19 points behind Aberdeen already, having played a game more. They're 14 points off of third place. They're out of the League Cup, knocked out by Championship Falkirk. The season's barely started, and here's a guy he's landed in his feet with a European run as well, wasn't he? Mm-hmm. So, look, just to answer your question, there'll be no bedding in period, no honeymoon period. They've got, on paper, a winnable run of games coming up. There's a derby coming up after St Mirren. Hibs are in no great shape themselves at the moment. So, as I keep saying, he needs to deliver results immediately, because I don't think it'll take long for it to turn toxic again in Tynecastle. I've seen a couple of their games recently. I was here for the Ross County game where they snatched a draw with a 96th minute equaliser. Dundee United before that. The end of those two games was utterly toxic. The fact the fans don't give managers long here. Stephen Naismith thought he had credit in the bank after leading them to third last season, but nobody survives an 8-game losing run. Stephen Naismith had no defence to that. So
Steve Clarke does.
Well, I'm going there now. I've not got time to go on to Steve Clarke.
That's what you are. You're the Jonah. Right, get across the car park that's better known as the M8 and enjoy the game tonight.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Cheers.
Right, see you later, mate. I'm doing a runner.
Thanks, Fraser.
Ta-ra.
At the end there, but there you go. Listen, folks, while we were speaking or catching up with what Fraser had to say, the Scotland team has come out for tonight. For those of you interested, exactly as we discussed earlier, Steve Clarke has just gone again, made one change with Shea Adams coming in for Lyndon Dykes up top. So that means the Scotland team to play Portugal is Gordon, Ralston, Suter, Hanley, Robertson, Gilmore and McLean, McTominay, Christie on one side, McTominay through the middle, Doak in the other, behind Shea Adams. And I think that sounds like a fairly decent team. So all that remains is to wish Scotland all the very best. Let's hope that we can finally bring an end to this horrible run of games. But as I said, I think it all comes down to performance. Thank you very much for joining us with us tonight. And keep the comments coming in, keep engaging through our socials. And we'll be back to dissect whatever it is that is served up at Hampden tonight. We'll be here to talk about it tomorrow. Cheers, everyone. Thank you.